Hi, welcome to Are You Experienced, our next episode, and I have with me my guest Elizabeth Hangan. How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
Good to meet you, Cynthia.
Thank you. So what really interested me about your story was something that you told me. We had this wonderful phone conversation because this is our first time meeting.
That's right.
Yeah, you're one of my Facebook friends now.
That's correct.
I've met so many wonderful artists through Facebook. And so when I was talking to you on the phone, you were telling me about how you're a singer, but you're known as a bass player, and you said you started playing bass in your 40s, I think, right?
Yes, mid-40s, like
right.
43, yeah.
And I just love that because I'm in my 40s and I'm trying to learn new instruments, and it's not going very well.
Oh.
So I'm just wondering, in your 40s, in the midst of midlife, when there's different challenges, how did you navigate learning a new instrument like that and becoming known for that?
Well, my journey with the bass actually starts now. My journey goes way back, actually to the late 70s, early 80s, when I started working with bands as a singer. And I was always drawn to bass. I love to dance. I used to love to go to discos and, I'm just a crazy dance-loving person. And I was always attracted to the bass. Like I could feel that bass, I could hear that bass. So fast forward, I joined a couple bands, and I sort of started to physically have access to the bass where I never did before. And I would kind of pluck, and I'd say, oh, I really want to be a bass player. And I was not really encouraged by my fellow male musicians.
Oh.
It was like, what I didn't know at the time, I didn't know who Carol Kay was.
Carol Kay, yes.
Carol Kay, right? I've never heard of her. No one ever.
That's unfortunately the only woman bassist that I know.
Yes, and there's a lot now, but even then you don't really know who they are, and even
Right.
I don't know who they are because you don't know much. You don't hear much about them. But Carol Kay was really working at that time. Nobody ever mentioned to me, wow, if you really want to play bass, you should check out Carol Kay. Of course, there was no Facebook, no YouTube,
right.
So it would have been difficult. But anyway, so fast forward 20 years, right? And I just kept this thing. I really wanted to play bass. And finally I said, you know what? I'm going to go and purchase some basses. So I purchased one bass. A friend of mine took me to purchase my first bass. My second bass I bought at a pawn shop, but I still hadn't started playing.
Right.
My friend who took me to buy my first bass gave me a couple lessons. And okay, all right. Well, then I met someone who is now my current boyfriend. I don't know what you say at our age.
I love that. My current boyfriend.
My boyfriend. I'm 64 years old and he's my boyfriend, Anyway, he's a bass player. We met on a gig and I mentioned to him, I purchased some basses, and he was like, really? Well, let me hear you play. So I pulled out and I had my little boom, boom, boom. He's like, you should be playing. And the friend who took me to purchase my basses also said, you should be playing. But, it just wasn't. And then at the same time, I heard from other male musicians, women don't make good bass players.
Wow.
They don't have the hand strength. And I think they were thinking upright.
Yeah.
But even still,
Sure. I know lots. Actually, I know some of my friends that play upright.
Right, you don't have
female.
to. You don't have to be like he, woman, she person to play an upright bass. If it's set upright. Anyway,
So in that time, in your mid-40s, did you find it easier or harder to learn a new instrument?
Easier.
Easier.
I found a good teacher, a woman teacher, by the way, and because I had already sang and I had taken piano lessons, I had gone to school for music. I already understood how to learn an instrument, but also my mother wasn't telling me, okay, you got a 15-minute, you got to do this. This was my choice.
Right.
And yes, it was easier, and within 2 years, I was playing, which was never my intention to become a working bass player, but it just turned out that way. I got introduced, and I just had not great bass skills, but I had good pocket, and that's it. It was accidentally became a working bass player.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that must have brought you into a whole new musical world than you were used to. Right.
Yes. I fell into the blues world. I had no, okay, this is what I want to play. It's just, that's where I wound up. So it's cool. This is where I am. Yes, it was, because physically I didn't know anything about lifting the equipment, it never occurred to me that, if you start playing bass, you're going to have to lift your amp and all that stuff. So here I am in my mid-40s, and I have to learn how to lift these amps into my car. I have to learn what to do if my amp stops working. I mean, these are all the things that you have to learn. But also now I'm hearing things like, I didn't even know a woman could play the bass.
Wow, really?
I've never even seen a woman play a bass. Wow. And then it's almost like, and you feel like you're a zoo animal in the way, because people come around and, man, you see her? You see this girl, man? She's playing the bass. So it was good because, I was able to find a place to musically call home, but at the same time dealing with old school mentality about women playing bass, and there were some challenges about not being taken seriously and constantly having to prove myself.
What is it like now? Because you've been playing for 20 plus years.
So now I have my group of people that I know who hire me to play bass, a few bands that I've been working with for at least 15 years. And I've also found a wonderful group of women that I work with, also known as the Scorch Sisters, also known as the Lovettes, if we back up Margaret Love. Also, we back up a woman named Sherry Pruitt. And depending on who we're working with, that's what we're called. So there's this wonderful group of women. I also have a couple of bass students. Well, I have one bass student now. And I have I have my own kind of, I guess it's a quartet that I have, known as the Elizabeth Hangan Band, which came together because some people that are really good musicians. I mean, I'm so lucky, Cynthia. I work with some great musicians. I mean, they're really good musicians.
Well, we live in LA, so it's throw a stone and...
I know, but they see something in me that I didn't see in myself. And they're like, So they've taken me under their wing, and they've just mentored me, and they play with me, and they're there for me. I can call them anytime to not only play bass, but just for other things too.
I'm curious, when you mentioned mentor, I think I got my first mentor recently. It's like it took me a long time to get a mentor. I'm just wondering, as an older musician, what does mentoring mean to you? Are you more of a mentor, or do you still need mentoring also, or both, or how does that work?
I think as someone entering into this as a full-time musician, there's navigating all the business and just kind of how to be about being a full-time musician. And so I have mentors that are younger than me, because they've actually navigated this with using the more modern techniques, right?
Because it's different now.
It's much different now. There isn't so much hanging out in nightclubs. There is the networking. There is the person-to-person network. But Facebook, like how we met through the library girl thing. So Susan Hayden. Check it out. So I learned that from younger musicians, and then the older musicians, yes, because they are people who worked in studios, they've worked with well-known musicians, they've been on the road as instrumentalists. As a vocalist, I find that I am the mentor as the vocalist, and vocaling people not only younger, but mentoring people older than me, because I teach singing, and a lot of my students are starting from age 30 through 80.
So you get a student that's maybe in their 70s that wants to get started with singing or improve their singing, or it was a dream long ago?
All of that. Just like me and bass playing, it was a dream from my early 20s. I didn't get it till my mid-40s. These people either sang or always wanted to sing. For whatever reason, it didn't happen, and now they're at this time in their life where they want to do it. I have two that are actually performers. That's what they wanted to do, and that's what they're doing.
So it's never too late.
No, never.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how about your future in music? Where do you see yourself, like in 5 years from now?
Probably doing more of the same as what I'm doing now.
So you found a good place.
I found a good place. Again, a friend of mine took me under his wing and gave me the tools to be able to do some recording at home. He lives in Switzerland. His name is Phil Gates, and he needed me to do backing vocals for him because I did all of them, and then he previously, and then he moved to Switzerland. So he goes, "Look, I'll show you how to use this." So people now, I've made it known that I can get them on there, and so I can do that. Writing more music, a recording situation. 2 really great recording situations have become available to me. I plan on doing that. I plan on doing more teaching. So really just where I am now, you know, and that's it. And now with going online and doing in person, doing stuff like this is so awesome to me. Yeah.
But it was great talking to you.
Wonderful talking with you as well.
And thank you all for watching and checking out Are You Experienced. Until next time.
So long. The song that I'm going to sing is a song that I wrote. It's called Lifeline. And the reason I wrote this song is after I graduated from music school, I started working in the office, and there was a big picture window, and I was watching these buses go by. And I thought about, you know what, buses are really a lifeline for a lot of people. If you don't have a car, or if you're in a remote area where you don't have access to other things, buses really, have been a part of our lives. And not only that, buses were a part of the civil rights movement as well. So I talk about Lifeline not only through buses, but through trees as well. So hence the name of the song, Lifeline. And it is a cappella, that's how I wrote it. Dun, 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 well, dun, 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 dun. Big old bus outside my window, it moves along, it moves along. Big old bus carries everyday people as they go on their way to start their day. Run in the front, jump out the back, can't be late, that's a matter of fact. Big old bus got to stay on time. Big old bus is a lifeline. Big old bus is a lifeline. Dun 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 dun. Well, dun 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 dun. Big old tree outside my window, see how it sways and dances all day. There's a fruit for everyday people, sweet taste of love, sent from above. Shade in the summer for you and me, and a big old home for the birds and bees. Big old tree, got to stay on time. Big old tree is a lifeline. Big old tree is a lifeline. Dun 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 dun. Oh, dun 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 dun. Big old bus outside my window, north and south, east and west. Big old bus carries everyday people to the ones we love the best. Now you run in the back, jump out the front. People so happy cause their day is done. Big old bus got to stay on time. Big old bus is a lifeline. Big old bus is a lifeline. Big old bus got to stay on time. Big old bus is a lifeline. Big old bus is a lifeline. Dun 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 dun. Yeah yeah. Dun 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 dun. Got to stay on time. Dun 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 dun. Lifeline. Dun 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 dun.